Well, hello and welcome to the epilogue. Some of the epilogues I'll take a little bit and wait for knocking them out. This one I'm deciding to do immediately after, partly due to time constraints, because I got to try to wrap up the Soviet campaign. Ideally, I get the Soviet campaign done before the DLC drops. I am filming this with about 3 days or 4 days until that DLC drops. I am very nervous I won't get it done in time, which is fine. I can just roll back the version and hopefully the file doesn't corrupt. No promises. If it does, well, I will have to do a new Soviet campaign in the future. Um, Part of this epilogue is going to be, of course, about the British campaign. The second part will be about the DLC coming up. Um, and kind of how I'm going to handle it. One of the things I've noticed with Paradox games, well, specifically Hearts of Iron with the DLCs, is well, there's a Reddit joke that summed it up the best. How I play Paradox games, wait the first week, 3 weeks for all the patches to iron out a bunch of bugs and kinks, and then play for a little bit. And then you learn a new DLC coming, so you don't want to play, the game because you want to wait for all the juicy new DLC stuff. Well, the part that's relevant of that is that I am probably going to hold off for like at least 3 weeks before I start playing it, just so I can get the bugs ironed out. I don't have to shift between versions and potentially suffer a you know, fatal corrupted save file or something like that I don't want to deal with. Start a campaign, have it go well, and then have it die to that, and have a series, explode. One of the things I kind of take pride in, I've started 5 series to date. I finished 4 of them, and I'm going to finish that 5th. One of the things I really like about having the channel, it really kind of kicks my ass to make me hang in there and finish out the campaign. Before, I'd make a dumb mistake, see something happen, and be like, screw it, I'll just restart. That was a dumb mistake. I know better than that. And yeah, but by doing this, forces me to really commit and take a look at things and, really analyze it, come back, fix my mistakes, and keep going. And frankly, I think that makes for a lot more fun campaigns. I mean, this British one was pretty damn tumultuous. Not as nuts as the Soviet one. Soviet one, if you have not seen it, it's freaking nuts. But the British one had some snags. I mean, we had a failed D-Day, where I threw away some divisions. Then we decided to opt for Greece. Greece was going well until we decided Yugoslavia was fun. Yugoslavia wasn't fun until we did our push on Zagreb, hit the winter, and that caused us to lose some divisions. And then there were some shenanigans, especially with, I think, the AI turning off Allied supply on me a few times here, which, once again, lost a few more divisions. Not throwing away half my army, quarter of my army, anything remotely close to that. But still, when you've got high-quality mech divisions, you can't be losing them like that. They're just too expensive. They take too long. And I already was coming up with a very small division count by trying to mechanize as quick as possible. I definitely, at the beginning, was trying to stick with as much mech as possible. I definitely kind of caved over time, and you saw me produce more and more foot infantry, other than the garrisons you saw at the beginning. So, we'll see. I would like to do a fully mech run, but sometimes a full mech is just such a pain in Europe, because the way trucks work, you either motorize the supply node or not. I think it costs, 100 trucks for the good motorized and 50 for the lesser, or maybe it's 50 and 25. Actually, I think it's 50 and 25 off the top of my head. It's just not realistic at all. You'd be using a shit ton more trucks than that in a lot of situations. But that's how the game works. It's confines I have to play in. Still, a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it, especially the back and forth and the uncertainty of, oh shit, will I actually be able to save the Soviets? It seemed like once Germany just kind of hit a certain range out here, they were kind of done. If I had done nothing to intervene, they, I guess, probably would have capped. I don't know. The supply gets so bad out there, they probably would have eventually pushed through. But with me harassing them in various theaters, be it Africa or especially the Balkans, that forces them to keep a good chunk of divisions on my line. The other thing, too, is the AI sometimes shuffles back and forth. I think the AI is definitely getting better about not shuffling. It definitely shuffles more than it should, though. With this new patch, again, supposedly the AI will once again be better about not shuffling. I am very interested to see if that is the case or not. Um, we deal with paradox games long enough, they're complicated enough. It is hard as hell to get an AI to play the game right. I get it. At the same time, that's what your customers want. So there's the rub. So, other fun things that were interesting about this campaign. I may try one campaign where I switch it up, and instead of focusing on Germany, because Germany's a real threat, maybe I try to blitz down the Japanese. Because, I don't know, probably not. Because the biggest issue right now is the Japanese AI is just not terribly great. It'll get through China, which is hell better than it used to be sometimes. Sometimes it'll stall out still, which is frankly kind of historical. But what's so interesting is they'll do the island hopping campaign, they go well, but their Navy's just not great. A human that, keeps not even death stacks, but just like a reasonable amount of ships together, just with a starting allied fleet, and produces, some ships that aren't half bad over time, really does not have a hard time overcoming the IJN. My American campaign, spoiler alert, slapped them around this campaign. I think I mowed down, they went from about 300 ships to about 14 at the end here in 7 months. And I think in 2 months, I just completely knocked out, I think 150 Japanese ships. Those are ridiculous numbers. Speaking about Hearts of Iron and the naval side of things, too, there's gameplay decisions and then there's historical decisions. And sometimes, they're completely different. You got to go with one or the other. Naval battles are one of those things. If you look at the naval battle, it's much like EU4 combat. If you've seen it, it lasts way too stinking long compared to historically what it was. And I guess that's true in CK2 also. And I get it. If you have a naval fight that, kicks off instantly and it's done in 2 hours, you may not even see it. You may see a bunch of ships sunk afterwards and you're wondering what the hell's going on. There's not really much to watch. At the same time, because they want you to watch the battle, get excited, see stuff getting sunk, and frankly, it's kind of fun to watch it. I don't fault them for that. It does give you a lot of time to have fleets come in and massively reinforce things. So that's why a lot of things just end up kind of being death stacks. No matter how much anti-death stack stuff they put into it, the fact is, fights take so long, you can still, have a bunch of reinforcements come, even if they're not in the initial fleet. I've kind of struggled with this about, should they go to the more historical fights where, a fight's done in a day, maybe 2 tops, and that's it? At the longest, maybe. But if they do that, you can deal with situations where you can't have fleets coming from, the East Coast to reinforce, or, even from other zones, nearby to reinforce, kind of the fight kicks off. You need to think more about what's in what zone. Another thing I've toyed with is playing with miners, kind of with the hard settings, but I don't know, because the problem is if you're playing with miners like that, you got to go with crazy compositions, basically, just be an armor spamming miner, really, if you're going to get anything done. If you're just doing a few, half-decent infantry divisions, I'm not sure you're going to be able to get anything done in the game. Other, games in the future here, just spinning off a little bit with my thoughts. Maybe a China game, maybe a Japan game, maybe a France game. Toying around with it. Never played any of those to completion. I've messed around with a Japanese game. Got decently far in, but I think there was a patch that hit. In fact, I think the patch was No Step Back, which, let me tell you, No Step Back is my favorite patch that Hearts of Iron has released. What they've done with the Soviet Union, more specifically, getting a pseudo supply system in versus what the hell they had before. I love it. It's not as good as actually having, supplies you can build up and store and, actually units consume it. But I get the challenges that. I played Hearts of Iron 3. There were challenges with that where the AI would just kind of wig out sometimes. You had weird things where, I remember one game we just I think I was playing as the Japanese. All the supply decided to go to Shanghai and hang out there and not move at all. Despite the fact units were around, units could use it, nothing was happening successfully with the AI and the supply system. So I know there's pitfalls to it. That's the best system. I believe this is a decent compromise system. Anything else that's interesting? Kind of going through showing the final equipment numbers here of what we produced. Yeah, some of my biggest mistakes too. Leaving the light tanks in with the shit speed. Slowing down all my divisions that were either armor or mechanized for a long time. I totally forgot about that, and that's part of the danger of picking up such an old campaign, is you're just not going to remember everything before. Like, whenever I picking up a campaign after a while, I'll sit there and orient myself, try to figure out what the hell's going on. But there are certain things you just do not remember with that kind of passage of time. And I should actually look back from when I first started this campaign to when I finished it. I know there was a hell of a... I think this probably started long before my kid was born. So that and a few other things that put some real pressures on my time to get this finished.
Ready!
But, for the people that stuck with this campaign, hope you enjoyed it. I did, like I said, because I was very uncertain if I was going to be able to win this. The saving grace of this entire campaign is probably the single fact the Soviets stayed in. Had the Soviets not stayed in, with like Germany with 500 divisions, sure, they may have, 50, 80, even 100 divisions, effing around in Africa. But 400 divisions in a fortress Europe. As soon as you land, you're being counterattacked instantly from a shit ton of divisions. That could be really bad. The other thing is I have a now much more healthy respect for the French coast defenses. I mean, these coastal forts are kind of no damn joke. Because I was coming in the first time, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go rewatch that failed D-Day and kind of probably try to dissect it and why it failed. One, rushing it. Two, divisions weren't terribly great, especially the landing divisions were not, really hard hitters. Obviously, they were set well in place, and the coastal forts were good. But I want to say I had short bombardment. I want to say I had overwhelming air power. Had some things that, I would have thought normally, okay, I would have landed. I mean, obviously, I thought I was going to land successfully. You don't undertake an operation you think is going to fail, I guess, unless you were just completely out of time. You just have to do something. But I really thought it was going to land. It did not land, well, successfully. We landed a few troops and got them encircled and all that good stuff. But, yeah, I think that's kind of getting towards the end of my thoughts on this one. Like I said, that back and forth, though, things were tight. Things were very tight. You come out the hand looking, sweet as a smelling rose here. But this was really close for a long time. Even the Balkans being bogged down, this got close. I mean, the biggest thing, too, is when you've got the supply system, concentrated, there we go. Almost said integrated. Concentrated supply system. You just got to keep your stuff on, just got to keep it there, lock in, and then eventually you just produce all sorts of stuff. Makes it hard to upgrade, but, there's some trade-offs. I'd argue Disperse is probably the better system, just because you can continually be upgrading and take advantage of your better techs. But, certainly some power to the other one. And with that, I will thank you for watching, bid you farewell. Probably the final thing I will say, though, is after I finish the Soviet one, probably going to take a little bit of a hiatus from Hearts of Iron. Probably do a standalone video on that also. But long story short is Vicky 3 is coming out. I'm interested in it. I'm cautiously optimistic about it. It's probably the best way to phrase it. Some parts of it are looking pretty stinking bare bones, but it is a Paradox game on release. That is kind of what happens, at least in my opinion. Definitely going to get a whirl, try it, play it out a bunch, and that'll also, ironically, by the time Hearts of Iron, the By Blood alone would be patched for the new after the new DLC, about that 3 weeks, 4 weeks is the sweet spot to, no longer see the constant patches and they get more stable. Fixing bugs and whatnot is about the time that Vicky 3 is going to be coming out too. So I'll probably give that a whirl. I, of course, will be picking up By Blood Alone. Playing designers intrigues me. I hope the AI can use it well. It's like even in this game, part of the reason I just win so much, or have such good armor divisions, is the AI is not good at designing tank divisions. And designing the tank division is one thing. Even the tanks and now the tank division are an issue. I think the AI was probably better at the old system, because the old system was a lot easier. If numbers go up, good. Picking components and things like that and making sure you're increasing the armor and the engine values. I'm not sure the AI has a handle on that. In fact, I'm pretty sure they don't. But there's that. That concludes my epilogue ramblings. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.